The Switch has many different features. It's a hybrid console, it has an infrared camera, gyro controls, but I actually think the Switch could use this one specific feature. And for that we need to go back and look at one of the previous handheld consoles, the Nintendo DS. The Nintendo DS was a revolution. It had 2 screens and took a lot of inspiration from the Game Boy Advance, and you could even play Game Boy Advance games on that system. But it had a feature that all Switch owners wish they had, and that is DS Download Play. DS Download Play was essentially that if you got together with a group of friends, only one of you had to have the game. Let's take Mario Kart for example. You could get together 8 people and only one of those had to have a cartridge. But there was a small handicap. You could only play as Shy Guy. And that was of course to encourage people to go buy the game so they could choose their own characters and cards. And I love the approach they had to this. You know, of course you can't get the full experience since you didn't buy the game, but like almost the same. If you're fine with playing with Shy Guy, I mean, this just saves so much money for so many people. Mario Party is an even greater example because that basically has no restrictions. You just pop the game cartridge in, invite your friends, and then you select the game modes and that's it. No restrictions, you can choose whatever character you want to play, you can play on all the maps. Yeah, it's great. And not only the DS, but the Nintendo 3DS also had DS Download Play. And the cool thing is that the 3DS also supports DS Download Play for older games. Now, I have a 2DS, a 3DS, and 2 Nintendo DS Lites, and that just means that when I have friends over, I have 4 sets of handhelds that we can use to play Mario Kart, Mario Party, and so on. And it's just lovely that they didn't just restrict the 3DS to 3DS Download Play, that you can actually go backwards. I know the game was backwards compatible with the games, but that doesn't mean the feature would also be, so just thank you. But then going from the 3DS, we had the Switch. I mean, we also had the Wii U, but that's not like a handheld console. And I just wish the Switch had a similar feature. Don't we all? So I just thought that I would take this video to, go and see which games could benefit from this and how they could even make this happen, because the biggest problem standing in our way is that Switch games are just much bigger in comparison to DS games. A normal Switch game can be everything from a couple of 100 megabytes to 10, 20, 30 gigabytes. But Mario Kart DS, for example, that's under 20 megabytes. I mean, you can see why it was easier to just quickly transfer a small portion of the game to other consoles, and today would just be maybe a bit of a struggle. But when there is a will, there is a way. And I feel if Nintendo really wanted this feature, they could make it happen. The Switch doesn't have anything equivalent to DS Download Play. Well, it has 2 games that uses this feature. It has Namco Museum, and it has 51 worldwide games, or Clubhouse games, or whatever the title is of that game regarding where you are in the world. So both of these games actually did it a bit differently. Namco Museum made it so that when you go to the eShop and search for the game, there comes 2 versions up. The free version, which is basically only Pac-Man Versus, and then you get the paid version, which is everything else. But I mean, here it kind of makes sense because that's the only multiplayer game in the collection, and the other games are more single player, so it wouldn't make sense if you could download those for free. But the other game, 51 Worldwide Games, does it, well, actually much more closely to what we have on the DS. So the game has a demo, and that demo, well, normally it only allows you to play around 4 minigames, but if one of your friends has the game, you can actually join in and you can play all the games together. And in this instance, it just works perfectly. Sure, a lot of the games are just on one screen, but some games actually only works if you have multiple displays, because games like Texas Hold'em, you don't want to be able to look at your opponent's cards because that would destroy the purpose of the game. And I think this is actually the way to go, because just have a demo available for the games that you want this DS download-esque feature available. Imagine if Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had a demo, but you could only play in that demo if a person had the actual game. And even then, you could maybe only choose between Shy Guys, and you can even choose your own color on that, but just go very similarly to the DS. I mean, people say, oh, but the games are too big to be DS download played on the Switch. But with this demo solution, you basically overcome that, because yeah, it might take some time to download the game, but that's it. Then your friends can join in for free and you can have a blast. When I look back at the DS, I see so many games utilize DS download play, and it's one of the most underrated features of that system. But what games on the Switch could really benefit for a Switch download play? I think my best example is maybe Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, I know it doesn't really matter if you play on the same screen and all that, but sometimes just being able to have the whole Switch for yourself instead of being like multiple people crammed around that little screen can be really helpful. Normally you would have to use local play, but then each and every one has to have the game, and that game is $60. So what I think could be the solution here is just have the original 8 characters available. You know, Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, Samus, Yoshi, Kirby, Fox, and Pikachu. And that way you can grab so many people in by being able to play this game with your friends, but you would still be like, why can't I play the other characters? And then, you know, a lot of people would probably go and buy the game if they hadn't already. But for casual people, like many people's friends who just don't care if like they're fine with these 8 characters, I just think it would be a good solution. Other games that would be lovely with this feature are games like, for example, Splatoon. Splatoon could maybe have it so you have 4 different weapons to choose from instead of the many weapons you can play as in Splatoon 2. And maybe they could even do it with Mario Party, where you could only play with 2 or 3 boards instead of the full 5 boards. Please add more boards to Superstars. I beg you, Nintendo. But you get the gist, right? Just make more games available, and if it's too much to make them totally available like they did with Mario Party DS, just put some restrictions on. It's still really nice to be able to just play some games with your friends and not urging them to buy the game if they don't have the money or lust to pay $60 for a game that they will only play one time with me, you, and, you know, everyone who wants their friends to get in on the fun. But what do you think? Is DS download play something to be seen in the future with the Switch download play? Or is it a thing of the past? Let us know down in the comments below, and while you're down there, also let us know what games you really think could utilize this download play on the Switch, and how Nintendo could maybe make this happen, because, you know, I brought my take on how they could do it, but that might be a horrible take, so yeah, that was the one feature the Switch desperately needs. If you like this video, why don't you press that subscribe button, and then maybe your friends can, for free, click it, maybe a bit restricted version of that subscribe button. I don't know where I'm going with this. Stay safe, get your friends together, play some DS games with that download play feature. Felix from Nintendo Live, out.